We're going to continue discussing the scandal involving the priests and child molestation, bring you up to speed a little bit on President Trump's former attorney pleading guilty, the other attorney being found guilty, and also play some clips that are very tragic. I'm going to let you know right now, this is definitely not a show that is appropriate for small children. I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance. Welcome to the program, friend. Our last show together, we focused almost entirely on the horrific crimes committed against children and against seminarians who are not children, but nevertheless were victimized by Cardinal McCarrick. And we ran out of time before I could get to something that's very, very critical. The numbers are not clear. One number I read was 1 in 7 boys is molested while he is a child. One said 1 in 4 girls. I don't know that we will ever fully know, but in America right now, it is safe to say that it is an epidemic. And I am going to speak clearly, just for this segment, to the parents and the grandparents. Let me start by telling you about a story of a man who's a friend of mine. I'm not going to give any other details, but except that, was raised in a devout evangelical home. And his mother, there was a weekend when there was a youth group overnight somewhere, a camping trip with the youth group. And he didn't want to go. And his mom, wanting him to be spiritual, wanting him to go and be with other Christian kids and sing and pray and hopefully have a stronger relationship with the Lord, insisted that he go, browbeat him into going. And he went, and you can see where this is headed. The youth pastor molested him, sexually molested him on the camping trip. When he came home, he's an 11-year-old boy, okay? He's 11 years old at the time. When he came home, he did not tell his mother, did not tell her till he was at least 30, but said, I will never go to church again, and didn't give any explanation. He just refused to go to that church anymore. And as you can imagine, had a horrible impact on his faith, on his soul. I mean, it's unthinkable. I'm telling you this because the data is out there. We have had a policy with our sons, who are now much older, but we have had and still maintain a policy where we have never allowed our sons to be overnight anywhere, ever, without us being there. If we're there, then we can talk about it, and we know what room they're in, and maybe we're shared in the room, in the big room with sleeping bags on the floor or whatever, but never have we allowed it, number one. Number two, we can count on one hand the number of times that we have had guests spend the night here, kids their own age, because we don't know what is happening to those children. As much as we like to think we do, we don't. We don't know what illicit magazines they've seen, internet stuff they've seen, movies they've seen. We don't know who has done what to them. We don't know if or how they would act out. We just don't know. I have a friend who, and so let me finish the thought. So we just don't allow it. Now the upshot is, the good thing is that our sons, God willing, will make it to adulthood without becoming a part of that statistical pool. That's one of our goals. It just is. We've also never allowed a male babysitter. Never. Now, I know that there have been females who have done horrible things to children, but statistically, it's much less likely. And usually we've had 2 females, unless it's an adult who we really know and really trust. We've had 2 females babysit them when they were younger, because it's much more difficult to get 2 teenage girls or girls in their late teens or early 20s who are going to commit a crime against a child if there's 2 of them there. Now, you might think that we're crazy, and maybe we are, but we are determined to protect our children. I have a friend who had 3 children, a boy and 2 girls, really involved, was an elder in a church, and had, just raising the kids to serve the Lord, and would allow his teenage son to go to places, to go spend the night at his house or this boy's house, or to have boys spend the night at their place, and clearly did not know that his teenage son was being molested by other teenage boys. And some of the things that he told me are so horrific. It was mind-boggling. It was so sad, so tragic. And this is all inside of his church community. This wasn't, the renegade drug-using kids that, my boy will never play with those children. It was kids from inside the church. So I'm just not prepared to have that happen. And my closing thought to you as a parent or as a grandparent is to just say, if you're in the habit of letting your kids go places or have other kids over, for you to at least rethink it. And for those of you who have really small children and you haven't gone down that path already, I'm urging you to follow our example, because you stand a much better chance of having your child get through their youth without becoming the victim of a crime. All right? And that's what this is all about. And I for the life of me, I cannot picture parents dropping their kids off somewhere for a weekend, any church function, knowing what we know about what has happened in the United States in the last 40 or 50 years, the things that have come to the surface in the evangelical world, the Roman Catholic world especially, has had horrible crimes that have been committed. I cannot understand how a parent even could consider taking their child and leaving them somewhere for a weekend. No, not happening. Not on my watch. All right, I've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the president. And we've got, what we'll do first is this horrifying new thing about celebrating abortion. Women who are coming out saying, I'm celebrating my abortion. This is sick. Again, not child friendly. I'll be right back. Warrior Guitars. Without question, the best guitar I've ever played, heard, or seen is a Warrior. The owner of Warrior, Jay Drand, has an incredible testimony of redemption and healing. God gave him the vision to start Warrior Guitars and a passion to make the best guitars in the world. They only make about 120 guitars a year, each one by hand. Maybe one of them could be yours, or a once-in-a-lifetime gift for someone you love.
The one thing that I can tell you is this is the most finely crafted guitar I have ever held. I've played a lot of guitars, I own a lot of guitars, and although the quality is exceptional on all of them, this is by far the most finely crafted instrument I own or have ever played. And I'm glad I own it.
Contact my friends at Warrior Guitar. Tell them Randall Terry sent you. Welcome back, friend. There are passages in the Bible where God was speaking about the nation of Israel and the Israelites who were committing horrific crimes. And one of the great condemnations was they do not know how to blush. They do not know how to feel shame. They do not know how to feel sorrow and repentance. But the phrase, they do not know how to blush, the brazen face. So a few months ago, a young woman was watching the news and heard about the defunding of Planned Parenthood in her state. And she couldn't put her picture up, would you? She started Shout Your Abortion, a hashtag on Twitter. And it's actually grown into an organization, Shout Your Abortion. The idea behind it was that women, this is nothing to be ashamed of. You've done nothing wrong. This is a positive good, and you need to tell people, I'm proud that I had an abortion. I'm going to shout my abortion. Now, Oprah Winfrey foolishly, in her magazine, which has some 10 million readers, featured this woman, a story about her in her inspiration section of her magazine, and is getting a lot of backlash because many of Oprah's followers are good, decent women who don't think that it's something that is positive. They don't think that killing your baby is something you want to shout about, something that you want to brag about, something you want to boast about and encourage others to do. Nevertheless, things have become so debauched in our culture, and the baby killers are so frantic to make child killing acceptable that they are now reaching new lows where they are literally trying to encourage people to own it, to shout it, to say this is a positive good. All right, so in this organization, they have tweets and they have a Facebook page and they post videos. We're going to play a clip for you of a woman. And this is tragic, but I want you to see the depth of evil that people have sunk to and the inability to feel shame and to blush. This came from what we're about to show you came from a nearly 20-minute video where the woman does a selfie with her cell phone and goes through the whole process, shows herself in the Planned Parenthood waiting room, does a tight shot on her consent form. Her friend is there talking, laughing, yucking it up. Then they leave and they're in the car and they're laughing. Well, on the way there, they're in the car talking, well, I'm about to have my first abortion. And the woman says, what, are you going to have more? And they're laughing. They think it's great. Then they're in the office. They show the operating table. Then they're leaving the office in the car and she's talking about it shamelessly. It's horrifying. And you need to see this. I'm sorry, but we need to understand the depth of evil to which we have sunk and what we are fighting against, the spirit of death, this shedding of blood. So go ahead, play both clips back to back if you would.
So when it occurred to me that this was something of a sacred act for me as a woman, even a woman with gender complications, gender confusion, this could be seen as a very sacred act of taking one's power, of standing in one's power, of ownership over one's body and one's choices and one's behaviors and one's decisions and one's path in life, one's happiness, one's well-being. It's a sacred taking of agency. And this is a theme that I've had very strongly in my own emotional journey for my entire life. I feel like this is kind of a ritual of sorts. It's okay to feel the way that I feel. It's okay to feel chill. It's okay to feel absolutely no guilt and no shame. It's okay to feel calm and to need to create that space and to have control over that calm space. You got it.
So there you go. A spiritual experience, something sacred, even to use these words is so abominable. Woe unto those who call evil good and good evil. Woe to those who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. And friend, the only way to deal with people like this is to call it for what it is. They're murderers. They're involved in murder. The Bible says thou shalt not kill. That includes the unborn. It includes all human beings. The deliberate destruction of an innocent human life is murder. Planned Parenthood are murderers. These women, that woman in this video, went to murderers to pay them money to murder their baby. Planned Parenthood is a criminal syndicate involved in hiding crimes against children. Every time that a teenage girl comes in to have their baby killed at a Planned Parenthood, that teenage girl is a walking crime scene. She's walking evidence of a crime committed against her. Statutory rape. The 14, 15-year-old girls, it's against the law for them to have sex. It's against the law for someone to have sex with them. They're a walking crime scene. And Planned Parenthood has been caught on tape over and over and over and over saying that they're going to go around the law. They're not going to turn people in. That's what we're dealing with here. And now we're dealing with a sick organization. Shout your abortion. Sick, tragic, demented people. And that's what we have to say. We have to say the truth to them. We have to say the truth about them. We're not going to equivocate. We can't equivocate. We can't say, well, you know, they have their opinion. I feel bad for them, but I would never do that. No, it's murder. Abortion is murder. And we have to say it. We have to fight against it. And we have to do everything in our power to drive this heinous crime back to hell where it came from. I'll be right back. Talk about Trump and also some big news on our movie. Don't go away. Have Muslim terrorists hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam? Or is there more to the story? The answer lies in the life of one man, Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslim terrorists see themselves inside a 1,400-year-old story, a narrative that focuses on specific events in the life of Muhammad. We are going to look at Muhammad's life using their most sacred literature. We will look at Muhammad at the Battle of Badr. We'll see him deal with those who mock him. We'll see the times when he used deception. We'll witness Muhammad's anti-Semitism. And yes, we will discuss Muhammad and his teachings concerning sex, slavery, and jihad. Friend, if you want to understand Islamic terrorism, get this series today. All right, another big news. As you know, President Trump's, one of his former attorneys, Paul Manafort, was found guilty of 8 counts of tax evasion. And this had nothing to do with Donald Trump. It did have to do with stuff that the Mueller probe found while they were going after Trump. And they asked for an indictment. They got one. But the president has already spoken publicly saying he's considering pardoning him. Now, if President Trump does pardon him before or after the election, it shows backbone and it shows, hey, he's my friend. I feel sorry for him and I'm going to pardon him. President Trump, one thing that I love about him is that he does what he believes is right. I don't agree with everything he does, but when he believes something is right, trade, the wall, judges, whatever, he does it without flinching. And the repercussions be damned. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. That's his attitude. And I respect that. I really do. Now, the issue with Michael Cohen pleading guilty, that could be somewhat problematic for the president. But even so, it just appears that President Trump is going to weather the storm. The Mueller investigation, the whole thing about Russian collusion, it is not there. The reason that this has gone on for what, a year and a half now? And no indictments, nothing, no evidence whatsoever about Russian collusion. It's because it doesn't exist. And worse yet is that the original FISA warrants to spy on President Trump came, and the whole Mueller probe came because of a false dossier put together with Hillary Clinton's money. You know this. You've followed this. You must know it, all right? That the original dossier that had stuff in it that I'm not going to even say on this show about President Trump when he was a private citizen and as a candidate, it was all false from the beginning. So there were warrants sought and obtained within the FISA courts, in the spying courts, against President Trump when he was a private citizen based upon a false document. And there were people in the FBI who knew it was false. Many of them have been fired, reassigned, demoted, and we have yet to see the last of the heads to roll. But in my opinion, this Mueller investigation is disgusting. It has been nothing from the beginning but a witch hunt. It is to weaken this president. And when you think of how much President Trump has gotten done, in spite of the fact that they're going after him, it's impressive. One other thing, the senator from Maine, the female pro-abort, said that she had a long conversation with Kavanaugh and that he believes that Roe versus Wade is settled law. This made me sick to my stomach. If that is true, then the pro-life Republicans and senators, Democrat senators, need to vote no on Kavanaugh. If he is already equivocating, if he is already saying that he would let Roe stand, then he's not fit for the court. He's a traitor like Anthony Kennedy was a traitor to his Catholic faith, to his Christian upbringing, and he needs to not be confirmed to the Supreme Court. Now, it's possible that he's doing a song and dance. Does he believe, current tense, And then facts change, and 3 years from now there's a case that comes, oh, well, the facts have changed. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm so disgusted with cowardice and treachery. I've been watching it my whole adult life, and I'm sick of it. We'll keep you posted. I've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk to you about our upcoming film. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700 or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Friend, we have a series that will help you and those you love to have an impact on this country. It's called Insurrecta Nex. That's Latin for revolution against the killing of innocent people. This is the history, the philosophy, and the theology of social revolution in America. We look at the Stamp Act, the Boston Tea Party, the abolition of slavery, the abolition of child labor, women's voting rights, the civil rights movement. All of them have this in common: courage, sacrifice, dedication, and in-your-face tactics and rhetoric. That's one of the reasons that we've been losing the culture wars the last 40 years, is because the bad guys are using these tactics and we aren't. We will send you this 14-part TV series along with these manuals for students, a teacher's facilitator guide for only $40. Go to 304-289-3700, 304-289-3700. I'm happy to tell you that on September 11th, we are releasing a brand new movie called Muhammad in His Own Words. Here's a trailer. Muhammad, the founder of Islam. Muslims believe that he was the prophet of God, or messenger of Allah, or apostle of Allah.
I am God's messenger to you, commanding you to worship God. I summon you to God and warn you of His punishment. Save yourself from hellfire.
Most of us in non-Muslim nations know nothing about Muhammad, nothing about his life, his words, his example, and his companions.
I have been given superiority over the other prophets, and while I was sleeping, the keys of the treasures of the world were brought to me and put in my hand.
To understand Islam, Islamic law, Islamic governments, and unfortunately, Islamic terrorism, we must study Muhammad's words and the critical events in Muhammad's life, and thus the example he left his followers. Friends, I ask your prayers. There are many movie theaters right now in the Deep South that are considering running this movie on September 11th. And as you can imagine, some of them are afraid. There's a lot of Christian networks that have lined up and said, we want the film. It's less problematic for a network because they don't have a location that could be picketed or protested. So I ask your prayers. I ask your prayers. The truth about Muhammad's life, his words, needs to get out. And the fact that Muslim terrorists are just literally imitating the example of the first generation of Muslims and obeying the orders laid down by Muhammad, that needs to get out. And this film is going to do it unlike any motion picture that has ever been made. I beg your prayers.
Thank you.